A new document has been uploaded to the docket in the Akira versus Brenay lawsuit. Let's get into it. First off, a big shout out to everybody who monitors said docket and sends me these snapshots. It saves me a ton of time. This latest filing is exactly what we would expect to see at this point in the collections process. Remember, the writ of execution is active, meaning the plaintiff is actively pursuing collection efforts. And now a summons to garnishee and notice of levy has been uploaded to the court record. I'm going to break this down to the best of my ability, and then I'll give you my thoughts on what I think may be happening here. As always, certified law nerd, bona fide non-attorney, smarty pants extraordinaire. This is not legal advice, simply my interpretation of what I'm reading in the court record. Ready? Okay, first, what exactly is a summons to garnishee and notice of levy? It's basically a document that's served on a third party that may be holding assets belonging to the debtor. In this case, the debtor is Brenay. Now, a lot of people automatically think bank account. And yes, financial institutions can absolutely receive these types of documents. In fact, I am very familiar with these. But they can also be served on other entities that may be holding money, property, or assets connected to the debtor, in this case, Brenay. What's interesting here is that the copy uploaded to the docket actually lists Brenay as the garnishee rather than a financial institution, which is what I would expect to see. Because of that, I think there are a couple of possibilities. The first is that what we're seeing is simply the defendant's copy of a larger levy package, and that there may be separate documents that were served on other garnishees. The second possibility is that there are additional levy or collection efforts underway that just aren't reflected in this particular filing. Either way, the purpose of the document is the same. It's telling the recipient if you are holding assets that belong to this debtor, the court wants to know about them. The form specifically requires the recipient to answer whether they possess property belonging to the debtor, whether they owe money to the debtor, and whether they know of anyone else who may be holding assets belonging to the debtor. And because so many of you have asked what happens when a bank gets involved, let me walk you through that process and what it typically looks like. When a bank receives a notice of levy, legal order processing generally moves really quickly. The institution reviews the order, identifies any accounts associated with the debtor, and determines what assets may be subject to levy. That review can include personal accounts, business accounts, and in some situations, accounts where the debtor's name is attached along with someone else's, aka joint accounts. Once that review is completed, the institution typically places a hold on the funds while the legal order is being processed. The process is simple, of course, to prevent money from leaving the account while the levy is being reviewed. After that comes the notice process. The account holder is generally notified that a legal order has been received and that the funds may be subject to levy or seizure. Then comes what many banks refer to as a sweep. That's when funds identified as subject to the levy are removed pursuant to the legal order and sent through the collection process. The exact timing varies from institution to institution because every bank has its own policies and procedures. Once those funds are remitted, they're ultimately applied towards satisfaction of the judgment. Now, just to be clear, I'm not saying any of that has happened at this point. I'm simply describing how this process commonly works when a financial institution receives one of these puppies. What I'm saying is that this filing is exactly the type of document you'd expect to see when a judgment creditor is actively pursuing collection efforts. As always, I'll keep an eye on the docket, and I'll catch you in the next one.